What's up? Dr. Swole here, MD, pro physique athlete. Today I'm going to be sharing a full 5-day hypertrophy program based on the upper-lower split. The upper-lower split is a very versatile training split that works for 4, 5, and 6 days per week. And today is going to be an example for 5 days per week. This is going to be a high volume program designed for an intermediate to advanced athlete. So if you are just starting out in the gym, I'd recommend you check out my beginner and low volume programs playlist. In general, the upper lower split divides up your body into 2 days. On the upper body day, you train your upper body muscles, and on the lower body day, you train your legs. You'll see that in this program, I do make a slight modification to the split to make it better. I'll start off with a program walkthrough, sharing everything you'll need to know about the program, including exercises, sets, and reps. We'll talk about the weekly layout or how to set up the days across the week. And finally, we'll talk about the pros and cons of this 5-day hypertrophy program. Alright, let's do our program walkthrough. So this is Dr. Swole's 5-day upper lower program. It is a high volume program designed for an intermediate plus. We have upper body day 1, lower body day 1, upper body day 2, upper body day 3, and lower body day 2. We'll talk about the ordering of the days later. Here we have the exercises, and here we have your sets and reps. Down here are the total number of sets for each workout, and down here we have the weekly muscle group set volumes. And you'll see that this is a high volume program. Starting off with upper body day 1, we kick it off with dumbbell bench press for the chest, 4 sets, and we're using a top set back off method here. So you're going to work up to 1 top heavy set of 5 to 8 reps, followed by 3 back off sets of 5 to 8 reps with about 10% lighter weight. This allows you to get some specific strength work with that heavy set, followed by more volume with lighter weight. Next, we have chest supported rows for the back, 3 sets of 6 to 10, and then lat pull downs also for the back, 3 sets of 6 to 10. And you'll see that I'm programming these machine movements quite heavily here. Note that not all machines are going to work well in low rep ranges, so it's something you'll have to test out for yourself. Then we have cable upright rows for the side delts, but also the traps, 4 sets of 8 to 12. And you can superset these on the cable stack with cable press downs for the triceps, 4 sets of 12 to 20. This is a nice example of how your supersets don't necessarily have to be antagonistic muscle groups. That is, upright rows are more for the side delts, and these are for the triceps. But since they don't conflict, you can superset them very easily. Next, we have dumbbell lateral raises also for the side delts, 3 sets of 8 to 12. And finally, machine calf raises for the calves. And we're using a MyRep scheme here, so you're going to work up to 1 main set of 10 to 15 reps, followed by 8 mini sets of 3 to 5 reps. And you're going to be taking only about 10 seconds of rest in between all of these. I like to just count down from 10. The idea is that you're going to be staying close to failure on all of these mini sets and really having effective reps throughout all of them. I'm equating this to about 6 straight sets. Going on to lower body day 1, we start with hack squats for the quads, 3 sets of 8 to 12. Then we have good mornings for the glutes and hamstrings, 3 sets of 8 to 12. Then machine single leg squats for the quads and glutes and hamstrings, 3 sets of 8 to 12. These are kind of like a standing lunge in a Smith machine. Then we have leg extensions for the quads, 3 sets of 10 to 15, followed by some bicep work. So easy bar curls for the biceps, 3 sets of 8 to 12, and rope hammer curls also for the biceps, 3 sets of 10 to 15. And this is the main modification that I've made in this split from the traditional upper lower. I've taken bicep work off of upper body days and moved it onto lower body days. We'll talk more about this modification in the pros and cons. Going on to upper body day 2, we have machine overhead press, 3 sets of 6 to 10, followed by cable rows to the back, 3 sets of 6 to 10. After that, barbell floor presses for the triceps, but also the chest, 4 sets of 6 to 10. After that, machine flies for the chest, 3 sets of 10 to 15. Then we have lat pull downs for the back, 4 sets of 10 to 15. And you'll see that lat pull downs are repeated, but we do switch up the rep ranges here. Then we have dumbbell lateral raises for the side delts, 2 sets of 8 to 12. And then some cable leaning lateral raises also for the side delts, 2 sets of 8 to 12. And the idea with these is that you're leaning over to the side a bit in order to emphasize the bottom range of motion. Going on to upper body day 3, we have incline dumbbell bench press for the chest, 4 sets of 8 to 12. You'll see that I do like to try and have a mix of dumbbell work as well as some machine work and barbell work in my programs. And you'll see that I often have different implements for my main movements for a muscle group. In this case, both happen to be dumbbells, but they are different exercises since you are putting an incline on upper body day 3. Then we have chest supported rows for the back, 3 sets of 10 to 15. And then the Dr. Swole pull down for the back, 3 sets of 12 to 20. This is a more advanced pulling exercise where you basically sit down on the ground next to the cable stack, angle your body at about 45 degrees to the line of pull. And the power of sitting on the ground is it allows you more control over your line of pull. You'll see that I have a lot of machine work in this program for your back training, and this is because the program is more designed for the advanced athlete. And as such, you might be dealing with a lot of fatigue issues, so you may not want to do so many heavy barbell type rows. Then we have easy bar skull crushers for the triceps, 4 sets of 8 to 12, followed by cable upright rows for the side delts, 3 sets of 12 to 20. After that, we have cable leaning lateral raises also for the side delts, 4 sets of 12 to 20. Finally, we have leg press calf raises for the calves. Again, we're using a MyRep scheme here, so 8 to 12 reps for your main set, followed by 8 mini sets of 3 to 5 reps. Moving on to lower body day 2, we have Romanian deadlifts for the glutes and hamstrings, 3 sets, and we're using a top set back off method again, so 1 top heavy set of 5 to 8 reps, followed by 2 back off sets of 6 to 10 reps. Note that I am using different rep ranges here, so the amount of weight you drop will be a little bit different, not necessarily 10%, but play with it so that you can get it to a decent RIR range for your 2 back off sets. Then we have Smith machine squats for the quads, 3 sets of 6 to 8, followed by leg presses, also for the quads, 3 sets of 8 to 12. Then we have Bulgarian split squats for the quads and glutes and hamstrings, 3 sets of 8 to 12. And finally, some leg curls for the hamstrings, 3 sets of 10 to 15. Notice that this program doesn't actually include any free weight squats and deadlifts. And I want to show an example of how you don't necessarily need these movements in a program, particularly if you're more advanced and they cause a lot of fatigue. Then we have lying bicep curls for the biceps, 3 sets of 6 to 10, and you're basically lying flat on a horizontal bench for these. Spider curls also for the biceps, 3 sets of 12 to 20. And again, you'll see that we've moved our bicep work off of upper body days onto lower body days. A couple other things to point out here. Notice that I've moved my calf raises off of lower body days onto upper body day 1 and upper body day 3. And this is basically to offset the bicep work that I had moved over. Muscle groups like the calves are easy to move around, and having sore calves is not going to affect you on your leg day training coming afterwards. Also notice that there are slightly more sets on our upper body days than on our lower body days, and this is to balance out fatigue since upper body movements are less fatiguing than your lower body movements. It's okay to have a few more sets on these upper body days. What program do you guys want to see me cover next? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, now that you've seen the program, let's talk about the weekly layout. So here's my preferred setup. We have upper body day 1, lower body day 1, upper body day 2, rest, upper body day 3, lower body day 2, and rest. Upper lower actually particularly works well for 5 days per week, and we'll talk about this more in a bit. But there is a particular way I like to set this up. The idea is that you want to spread out your upper body days and your lower body days from each other as much as possible. And this is why we have the upper body days flanking the lower body day here, and then having rest days separating these 2 segments. So with a 5-day upper lower, there is an ideal order to the days. With a 4-day upper lower, you have a lot more flexibility to shuffle around days. But for example here, if we move this upper body day over here, we'd end up having 2 upper body days back to back. And for example, if we move this lower body day over here, it would end up next to an upper body day, which isn't the worst, but then it would only be 2 days apart from another lower body day. So we actually don't have a whole lot of flexibility in this program, but that's okay as long as you have a consistent workout schedule. Now, when you have an upper and lower body day coming back to back, I prefer having the upper body day come before the lower body day. And this is because a tough lower body day can impact your performance on an upper body day coming afterwards. Notice that this does happen earlier in the week, and that is why I put our toughest lower body movement, which was RDLs, onto our lower body day 2, which has a rest day coming after it. So you'll see that you do want to be intelligent about how you use your rest days, particularly when you're more advanced. Now, one thing I want to point out, as you notice, I moved biceps off of upper body days onto lower body days, and this actually means that biceps are getting trained 5 days a week. This is because they do get involved indirectly with your back training on your upper body days, and then you train them directly with bicep training. Another thing you'll notice that I took our main pressing movements, which was our dumbbell bench press and our incline dumbbell bench press, and put them on upper body day 1 and upper body day 3. You do want to put your main upper body movements separated on these 2 days because they are more separated in time. If, for example, you put your main bench press type movements on upper body day 1 and upper body day 2, they would end up being bunched up together and they could interfere with each other. So keep in mind that not all of the upper body days are created equal in this program. Okay, now let's talk about the pros and cons of this 5-day hypertrophy program using the upper-lower split. Starting off with the pros. This program balances your upper and lower training, and this is a consequence of using the upper-lower split in a 5-day setup. One of the disadvantages of the traditional upper-lower split is that it tends to favor the lower body. If you're training in a symmetrical split, for example 4 days or 6 days per week, you're going to have more muscle groups to train on your upper body days than on your lower body days. So you'll end up having either very long upper body days or a lower body focus. And this might not be ideal for people who want a balance between their upper and lower body. When you have 3 upper body days and 2 lower body days, this allows you to balance out your sets across the week. Next advantage with this split is that biceps are trained when they're fresh. And this is the modification I made of taking bicep training off of upper body days and moving them onto lower body days. This addresses one of the other disadvantages of the traditional upper-lower split, where biceps and triceps get trained after pushing and pulling movements. And since your arms are used indirectly on these major compound movements, they may not perform as well on your direct training. But when we take biceps off of upper body days onto lower body days, we're able to train them when they're fresh, and you'll end up performing better. It also indirectly increases the frequency of bicep training. As you saw, biceps are trained 5 days per week in this program since they get used indirectly with your pulling movements on upper body days. Next, this program features a high frequency for your upper body training, and this is a consequence of having those 3 upper body days. I really like this higher frequency approach because it gives you more flexibility in your programming. If, for example, you wanted to program bench press 3 times per week to really get your bench up, you could totally do that in this program. And it also allows you to really jack up volumes for certain muscle groups. As you saw in this program, we have quite a bit of volume for the back and side delts, and this is spread out really nicely over 3 days in the week. Finally, this program has good fatigue distribution. That is, you don't necessarily have a day that's way easier and a day that's much harder. You will notice that your leg days are significantly more difficult than your upper body days, but you'll also notice that I've tried to offset this a bit by placing a few more sets on your upper body days than on your lower body days. Okay, now let's talk about the cons of this 5-day upper-lower split program. There aren't that many here, and I have to say that the 5-day upper-lower setup is a really strong one. Now, one thing is that you are going to have slightly tougher lower body days, and this comes from the fact that you have 3 upper body days and only 2 lower body days. This is actually going to be a very subtle difference. I actually don't think it's much of an issue at all. It's going to be more noticeable in something like a 6-day program where you have only 2 lower body days and 4 upper body days, like in, say, push-pull legs or the Arnold split. The other thing about this program is that triceps still get trained after pushing, and this is just a leftover disadvantage of the traditional upper-lower split, where your triceps may not perform as well after being trained with pushing movements. But notice that this isn't as much of a big deal once we start getting into the higher frequencies. Once you start training muscle groups 3 or more times per week, you're splitting up your volume over more sessions, so you don't actually have as much volume within one session. For example, in this program, on upper body day 1 and on upper body day 3, you only have 4 sets of pressing before going on to your direct tricep work. Since you have the luxury of having more days to spread out your training, your triceps shouldn't be that fatigued by the time you get to your direct work. So this issue actually isn't much of a problem in this program. Now, I will be sharing the Excel file for this program in my Facebook group, so find the link to the group in the description below and you can download the program for free. If you're really looking to upgrade your knowledge and maximize your hypertrophy results, check out MASS, which stands for Monthly Applications in Strength Sport. It's an elite research review put out every month, and it's written by some of the guys that I personally learned from. You can find my affiliate link in the description below. It's a really nice way to have all the newest research summarized for you, where they take the highlights of all the best studies and put it into a PDF, as well as audio roundtables and videos. If you want to see a unique split setup for 5 days per week, check out this video where I explain the Dr. Swole Arnold split, which is a hybrid between the Dr. Swole split and the Arnold split. This is a split that I personally designed that I think has a lot of unique advantages. So definitely check it out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more free programs. I am the king of free hypertrophy programming on YouTube, and we'll see you next time.